Hi folks, hope you're doing well. My name is Marc Gallagher. I am a professional musician here in England, and we've got another instrument review video of sorts in the form of, instead of looking at a baritone ukulele like I did with the Flight Aviator, we're looking at a Jet guitar. For those unaware, Flight Ukulele have a sister brand in the form of Jet guitars. Do you get it? Because it's a jet and jets fly, so Jet and Flight. Do you get it? After the really nice reception I had to my coverage of the Flight Aviator baritone ukulele, I reached out to the folks at Flight and I said, hello, because I do guitar content as well, if you need any help with anything jet related, I'd be very happy to. They referred me on to their distributor, Hal Leonard, and I've been speaking with them, and that's how I've got a hold of this. I'm doing the thing for the distributor, not necessarily for jet guitars directly. And as a further disclaimer, this guitar is loaned to me, not given. No money has changed hands, and Flight, Jet Guitars, and Hal Leonard, the distributor, they're not going to see this video before you guys, so these thoughts are my own. I am not speaking on behalf of Jet or anything like that, so I'm going to give, an honest critique and honest review with some fair, good faith critiques as and when. So Jet Guitars are also a Slovenian company, and their instruments are made in the Far East, I believe in China, and they are designed as affordable alternatives to some classic guitar designs such as S-types, T-types, Les Paul types, SG types. And with that in mind, I just want to make clear that the goal of this video is a review, but I'm not going to be judging this guitar for what it isn't, but instead fairly appraising and praising where due the instrument for what it is. I'm a bit of a brand snob. I do like Fender guitars. I'm not going to judge this for not being a Fender. I'm going to praise this on its own merits. Also, just to kind of legally cover my back, this guitar is officially referred to as an S-type guitar. I am a musician and I am not working for Jet. I am going to call this a Strat or a Stratocaster because that flows off the tongue better than saying S-type. But this is legally an S-type, not a Strat. I'm just going to call it that for the sake of this video. This guitar is the Jet's JS-600 TGR. To decode that, it means Jet, S-type, 600 series, transparent green. The 600 series, Jet list their guitars in series, so starting from I think 300 series, and as you go higher in number, you go up in higher in spec and value. And that's what this guitar is. This was picked out for me by the folks at Hal Leonard, who said, Mark, can you take a look at this guitar? And I said, absolutely. Let's take a look at the specs now. We've got a mahogany body, which is very nice. You've got some good drama on the grain of the wood in this light. And then you've got a maple top. So this is a flamed maple top. And what I really like is because of this transparent green finish, you can see the grain of the wood underneath this finish, and it's nice having that stripe. There's not quite exact book match towards the bottom half, but honestly I don't really care that much. Just the finish, the stain on this is beautiful. And it's also rather interesting that for an S-type guitar, which are usually made out of alder, ash, or if you're going to go cheap, basswood, it's really interesting that they have mahogany and maple, which is a very Gibson thing to do on Les Pauls. So this is really interesting. And what's also more interesting is that mahogany is usually a really dense and heavy wood, but when I weighed this guitar next to my US Fender, they were both around the same sort of weight. They were both around 8 pounds, which was surprising to me. I thought this was going to be heavier considering the mahogany body. You also have front binding. It's sort of like a white cream binding. I am a massive sucker for binding on my guitars, so to see this, it's just really nice, and it just it feels like an extra premium feature. The bridge is a Wilkinson tremolo, which has some modern style saddles, which I really like. The bridge has been set up with a slight float to it, which I quite like because I like floating bridges. It gives me what I want out of a Strat style guitar. Like most S-types, you've also got the scale length of 25.5 inches. You've got 22 frets. In terms of its build, this is really good, especially for the money. The neck feels quite nice. I don't want to say it's a satin finish, but it's got a good smoothness to it as I'm running my hands up and down, and also I'm not really feeling any significant fret ends here as I'm doing that. This guitar is HSS, so instead of like 3 single coils, you've got a humbucker here, which can be split. Personally, I wish that the humbucker pickup cover matched like the other hardware in the form of these. Instead of having 2 tones like you would have on other S types, we've got a master volume, master tone, and then you've got a coil split switch for the humbucker. I quite like this because it's nice to get some different variants and options, and I think that having 2-tone knobs is broadly not that necessary because I don't find myself having to blend different tone settings on one pickup versus another at the same time. The knobs on this guitar also have no numbers, which can annoy some players who want to know exactly how they have set their volume and tone settings. For me, I don't mind. I've got some guitars like my Telecaster, which does have no numbers and you just have to go on feel. Like, it might bother you, it might not, but knobs are very easily changeable. However, there was one fault which I'll have to call Jet out for. So the B string, when I was playing it, it kind of had this buzzing, almost sitar-like quality. It sounded a little like this. I took this to my guitar tech, and under a microscope you could see in the saddle there was a little bit of a kink, so the string was vibrating in that kink in the saddle, which was causing this buzz. We filed it and polished it, and it's absolutely fine now. As for how it happened, that could have been an error in terms of how the guitar was put together in China. It could have been an error in transportation to the UK. Like, what I do know is that Hal Leonard do have their own setup station. I've been to their warehouse and I've seen that they do have a setup station for their instruments. However, maybe this just slipped them by, or maybe it was an issue with its transportation to me. So it could have been any of those factors. It could have just slipped other people by, but that was an issue, which thankfully I was able to get sorted. The tremolo arm for this, instead of screw in like some other Strats, it's like a push-in one, which I like. I don't have any experience really with other like trem arms of this type, so I don't know how it is long-term, or I don't know like any pros and cons. I don't know how viable it's going to be long-term, but right now I like that I can just push in and pull out rather than having to screw in for ages like I do on my Fender Strats. The pickups are mentioned as just HSS Alnico pickups. They don't mention like readings or like what magnet type. Thankfully, I've done my own measurements and they are this. Additionally, you've got a roasted maple neck with locking tuners. Locking tuners, I don't have experience with them on my other guitars. Allegedly, they improve tuning stability, but also they're more useful for quick easy string changes. It's nice that they've got these, and it's also another premium feature. Additionally, what I really like is the drama on the neck. So the back of the neck, you've got some really nice wood grain to this, and compared to like the maple necks on my other guitars, it's nice to see something a bit more dramatic and less plain looking. That's a really nice feature. So like I said, you're getting a lot of guitar for not a lot of money. How much money precisely? This guitar retails for £459, which is damn. When you like look at that in comparison to say some Fender models, if you were to look at the Squier Classic Vibe HSS Strat, you would be paying about £439. It's, you know, competing in that sort of ballpark. But if you wanted something with the Fender name, like the Fender Standard, which is made in Indonesia, that is £549 for a Strat with a humbucker here. So honestly, like, this gives you a lot of guitar, and you're still saving £100 just at the expense of the brand name, because you're still getting a lot here. So like I said, this is a very highly spec guitar. You're getting like a flame maple top with a beautiful die. You've got front binding, mahogany body, locking tuners. You've got the humbucking pickup with a coil split here. Like, that's a lot of stuff. And my thought when I did get this guitar and I was thinking about the price for the features, I was thinking, at what cost? And yes, this guitar is made in the Far East, but I think the main cost of it was just in terms of the setup, because I did have the issue that I mentioned before on the B string here. And my guess is that the trade-off for having so many features, some premium features in a guitar at this price, is that your guitar might need a setup or a cuddle out of the box before you start playing it and getting it to its full potential. And that's what at least the experience that I had with me in this. And so far, really, really nice. I just think that if you were to buy it from a specialist guitar dealer who would be able to set up the instruments beforehand, you'd really get something out of it rather than, say, buying it from a drop shipper like, say, a Gear for Music or similar kind of store. Again, you're getting a lot of guitar for not a lot of money. This is the same kind of money as the Squier Classic Vibe, and you're saving when you start going to the Fender Standard range, which is made in Indonesia and doesn't have this dramatic finish. So, you know, there's a lot here. So now onto the sound. This is going into my Fender Blues Junior and Vox AC10. The Blues Junior is mic'd with a 57. The Vox is mic'd with a 414 and a 57. I also have a pair of room mics. These are the settings of the amplifiers that I have. And yeah, like, I'm going through my pedal board right now, but there is nothing that is on in said pedal board, so don't go complaining about anything. And also, your amp's going to vary and blah, 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 blah. The first thing we're going to do is play a small excerpt on like the 5, 6-ish positions here, and then I'll start giving my thoughts. But firstly, let's just show you what this guitar sounds like. Volume's on full, tones on full. I'm going to start at the neck pickup and work my way down. So now my opinions. I'm going to like describe some qualitative terms and I'll let you decide as to whether or not that's a good or a bad thing. Like the thing that I find for this guitar is I find the pickups are rather glassy. I feel like they, especially when you go at full volume, the two single coils, the neck and the middle, they can be a little brittle. So it sounds like this. There's a lot of detail there, and I do like that. However, it can verge on being a bit brittle or just otherwise a bit much. Like, you can also make an argument for the amplifier because I'm going through a Vox. However, I think in this case, you know, I've balanced it out by going through my Fender as well and giving you two different kind of flavors and blah, 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 blah. Additionally, I'm going to put on my always on make good pedals in the form of my EQ, my delay, my compressor, and a tremolo. These are my always on make good pedals. So we take the guitar from sounding like this to sounding like this. And for the rest of this demo, I'm going to keep those pedals on because they sound nice. One thing I will say, though, is that the volume has quite a bit of a treble drop-off. So here's full volume. And then if I just take the volume back a little bit, like, you really hear that difference. So I think that moving the volume knob to like 9, sort of 8-ish, and again, there's no numbers here, so I can't tell you exactly, but by rolling it off a little, I think that's the sweet spot for this guitar. knobs and pots are great on this. I like the way they feel when they turn. There's a bit of like a weight to them as opposed to some pots that like are a bit too effortless. The switch feels great, absolutely no unwanted noise, so I'm happy there. Yeah, for me, the sweet spot of this guitar is just to roll the volume back, maybe roll back the tone just a touch to lose some of the top end, and then when you're like coming in for a solo or a fill, like I think that's where you can shine. So having me down at sort of 8, 9-ish. I could do something like just that quick volume change like makes all the difference tonally speaking. The trem system's pretty good. I think that the tuning stability is pretty good on this. What I really like about this guitar is the middle pickup position. Like, normally I neglect the middle position on my Strats, and this guitar kind of proves it to the contrary. It sounds wonderful. Then roll the volume back a little bit. Also, the split coil on this is really good. Like, I've had some bad experiences with split coils before, like Fender Modern Player range, which is made in China. Like, their split coil pickup sounds horrendous when you switch it to the single coil mode. Sounds awful. This one is honestly really nice. So here's full fat. Split coil. It's not going to be quite as detailed as like an actual single coil. But it gets close enough. I don't have much experience with HSS Strats, but at the very least, like the humbucker makes for a really nice like solo tone. You know, you can be in middle position doing your thing. Whack to humbucker. The coil split also works in position 2, so you've got like the middle with a humbucker or middle with the split humbucker, and I quite like the former especially. If I split that, sounds like your more traditional second position, but it's still really nice. I still love that full fat though. I think the way that the volume control is and how it sort of affects the tone, it might bother some people. So I'll play like a thing and bring the volume down incrementally. Full fat. It might bother some people. Like for me, I think the sweet spot on this is having the volume sort of like 9-ish. So that you've got detail without it being too glassy and too brittle. Yesterday I was working on an arrangement of Diamonds Are Forever to accompany a singer, and I think that finger-picked, this guitar sounds really nice when you've got it clean with a slight crunch to it. So that's what this sounds like. like, I really enjoy that sound, and I think there's really a place for it in that kind of realm. While we're here, let's also give a look at the guitar with some overdrive. It's stuck on the Wampler Paisley. This is what it sounds like, starting from the neck pickup. God, that humbucker like roars. The same rule I mentioned before about the volume having it about 9-ish, that also applies here. So here's the middle position on full whack. Roll it down slightly. But in terms of the way the guitar cleans up, so that is when you got it in a drive, but you then roll the volume down so it is clean, kind of. Like, I'm not sure if the guitar necessarily excels at that. So full whack. Obviously distorted. Cleaner, but you'd lose that top end, and more so as you go further down. Usually in these scenarios, I quite enjoy having a treble bleed, but obviously I don't want to like suggest you go modding guitars like straight away. It's, you know, spend some time with it, like learn the instrument and embrace it for what it is and try to make it work the best for you and what you do with what you have. And that's basically it. So my final thoughts on this is you're getting a lot of guitar for the money, and $459 is still a really good price to pay for a guitar with such features, you know, with this nice top, the binding, the locking tuners, with, you know, this amount of stuff going on. It's really good value. You just might need to get a little bit of love out of the box before you can get the guitar to its full potential. And, you know, I would advise, if you were to get this guitar, which I think you should, then absolutely, then take a look at your local music shop, see if you've got a dealer who can sort of set a guitar up for you just before it makes its way into your hands. As an alternative to something like a Fender Strat, as an alternative to something like the Fender Standard or the Squier Classic Vibe, maybe even arguably the Fender Player 2 series, although I've not done any direct comparisons of any kind like that. Like, I still think this is a really good option. I think the pickups can be a little bit harsh when you don't have your volume set at like that 9 position. You might want to change the knobs to something with numbers if that's something that suits you better. But yes, I really enjoyed this, and I'm grateful to Hal Leonard for having sent it to me. Whenever they ask for it back, I'm going to send it them. Hopefully, like, they just kind of go, hey, Mark, you're great. You keep the guitar, because actually this is really nice, and it's got a lot of good stuff about it. So that will do for now. For those curious as to how this guitar compares to my Fender Stratocasters, maybe that'll come up in a future video. We'll see. But for now, my name is Marc Gallagher. Thank you very much for watching the video. You can follow me on your favorite social media at Marc Gallagher Music, Mark with a C. Thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting the things that I do. You can go to patreon.com/Marc Gallagher Music to also support and get your name read out and to have the lovely little credits roll and stuff like that. And you get various other rewards as well. Until next time, my name is Marc Gallagher. Thank you for watching the video. Like the video if you want, share if you feel compelled to, and follow me on places. I'll catch you down the road.